Love, the first thing we want to do is end up with that one person that we love. But then again, as time goes by, everybody's asking me, where's the live? Yes, we are live, and we're gonna fix this and we'll be back. Okay, let's get this fixed. We will fix this and we'll be back to the live show. Once again, my name is Likuyani and welcome to the show. Sorted out and a good evening once again. Sorry for those mix up. My name is Likuyani and tonight on the family edition we talk about in-laws. Unajua, you get into a relationship and then you know how your life is figured out and you have all these dreams of how the happy ending will go to. But we have people that come from the person you choose to live with. We call them the in-laws or potential in-laws, or others we call them the extended family. Just what role do they play in that man and woman that you love? Nyokabi, Kamau. Good evening, Nyokabi.
Good evening, Ellie. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm also great. I'm feeling well. I'm doing well. I can't complain.
Yep.
Welcome to the show, my brother.
Welcome to me because it's been a while and it's great to see you as always. Karibu sana. I think people
Asante.
are watching the COVID series. But again, we are live, ladies and gentlemen, and tonight's topic is what we're calling dealing with in-laws. Nyokabi,
Yes. Yes.
very short English. What are in-laws?
Very short English. What are in-laws? Who are in-laws? I think that's the word we are looking for. When you use what,
Correct. You know why I call them what? It's because of what rotates when you mention the word in-law. You'll see ladies
yes,
frowning, and you'll see some men getting uncomfortable with their wallets for
yes,
whatsoever reasons. And for anybody that is trying to figure out why exactly is this a topic of interest, I believe
yes,
most of you, if not all of you, especially from the Kenyan market, you are
yes.
conversant with this show on one of the local TV stations in Kenya. Let's have a look.
What's going on with you two? We have a few things to tell you.
Expect no sympathy.
Don't think you're any special.
I'm sorry. I fell asleep.
You're fired.
It's payback time.
I know how we'll teach her a lesson.
Unafikiria sisi hapa tuko na haki? Sisi na buzi ni sawa tu. Maria, usiongee hivyo.
Mother-in-law.
Yes, Nyokabe, mother-in-law.
Yes.
Why
Yes.
mother-in-law and not father-in-law? Why is it that it's the women that get targeted when we mention in-laws?
First of all, let me answer the question you asked first before we played that amazing clip. Is who is an in-law? An in-law is a relative of your partner, your intimate partner. You could have a partner who is not an intimate partner. It's an intimate partner who you are in a marital state with. So in-laws come in as a result of the law. So in a relationship with somebody, you have gotten into a marriage by law, you have been bound together, and so his family automatically or her family become your in-laws. They become family or they become part of you because of the law that has bind the two of you together. Now that is the national level, the national law that guides you, or the law that you're under as a citizen of the country that you're in. They also become your in-laws because they are relatives of the partners that you're with. So these are not people who ideally you'd have a relationship with if you are not in a relationship with the partner that you're with. These are people who you would not even know or would not interact with if you're not in a romantic relationship with your partner. So that's what makes them your in-laws. That's why there is the word laws and in that sentence, because they come as a result of that binding covenant of the government. So they are forced They are actually forced to be your friends. They are forced to be your family by the fact that the two of you have decided to love each other. Those are your in-laws. Now, when we talk about mother-in-laws generally, let's say that men in an ideal situation, if you were to stereotype Ellie, we would
Mhm.
say that men have no issues. Men are not emotional, they are logical. Men are not normally threatened by small things, or they are not very competitive. And even if they are, they keep it to themselves. They don't outrightly go aggressively to create their concerns or to express their concerns or to express themselves, because Africans, we know men are not allowed to have any emotions. I don't know why, and they're human beings. So rarely will you hear anything about a father-in-law unless it's an issue of dowry that's being paid, or there's a loss, or there's money somewhere. That's the only time you'll hear the issue of a father-in-law. But most of the times you'll hear the issue of mother-in-law, because mother-in-law is the one who calls the son all the time.
Mhm.
Mother-in-law is always the one who is in the case of the daughter-in-laws. She's the one who is always in the face of her daughter-in-laws. And those are mother-in-laws who really don't know where their position, and the people who don't understand who they are. And I
Yeah.
say that with a lot of caution and a lot of boldness at the same time, because normally what happens, Ellie, when you go to church, if you have
Yeah.
done a church wedding, if you're privileged to do a church wedding,
Yeah.
what normally happens in a Christian community or in a Christian setting, the parents walk in the bride or the groom, and when they go to the pulpit there in front, the person who is joining these two people together always asks, who is bringing Nyokabi to the altar, or who is bringing Kamau to the altar. And then the parents come there and they hand over these people to the church, or they hand over their children now to the church, and then the church joins these people together and hands them over to God to go and build a home. That is how ideally it's supposed to work. But mother-in-laws, I think what they hear in their head is that you have another child that you need to mind their business. Yes, on top of your own, you have another child that you need to mind their business. You need to call them all the time. You need to tell them all manner of stuff, and you need to
Yeah.
change them from the way they
Mhm.
were brought up. You need to fine tune a few things about them. So ideally, that is what a situation of in-laws. That's where in-laws come in early.
So even as we talk about in-laws being the ones that want to mind your business,
Yes.
it's been I think it's historical for some people that
Mhm.
as you said, by default the law tries to make you get into a relationship, but then again we cannot really say we cannot do with them. So
Yes.
how do you deal with in-laws that will walk into your home one morning and tell you, mbona haujazaa mpaka saizi, it's been 2 years? Because I
Yes.
think that's where the problem comes in. Childbearing, that is where the first problem comes in before the others. Let's start with that one.
I was tempted to start with the relationship bit. How do you first of all build a relationship with your in-laws before
Mhm.
we can get into the dirty,
The
we can get
conflicts,
into the
the dirty
skeletons
linen.
in the closet.
Take
So
it,
the
take it
first thing
away.
that I would say about building a relationship with your in-laws, as a person, who is going into this family, you need to understand that number one, you're an outsider. Because when we get married, women especially, when we get married, we expect the same acceptancy that you have accepted your spouse with. You will experience the same expectancy with the family of your spouse. Now, the question I want to ask daughters-in-laws: do you get along with all your sisters and all your brothers and all your aunties and all your uncles? Do you get along with all your mothers? Because for us in the Kikuyu community, the sisters to my mom are my mothers, the brothers to my father are my father. So do you get along with everybody in your family? That's the first question you need to ask yourself as you get into the marriage. Now, you can be 5 children in the same family, but there's one sibling that you really get along with because you have the same ideas, you have the same principles, you stand in the same place. So the first thing to do is not to have this mindset that in-laws are bad, or you're not going to have a healthy relationship with them. Is for you as a person to know what kind of a relationship you want to build with these people. Once you realize that you are an outsider, and I say this very loudly to women, you are an outsider, and the fact that this person has married you does not make you an insider. You earn the right to become an insider by how you relate with them. So you are in a journey of developing healthy relationship with each and every person. And it's okay if you don't get along with your sister-in-law. It's okay if you don't get along with your brother-in-law, because even on your side of the family, you don't get along with everybody. I think some of the challenges that come from in-law relationships is that expectation that because I'm married to your brother, then we must get along. Because I'm married to your sister, then we must get along. That's not the case. We get along because we have earned the right to get along with one another. So we are building a relationship like you would build a relationship with somebody who you meet in the office, like you build a relationship with someone who you meet in church, because these are people who have been forced into your life by the fact that you have gotten married to somebody. So that's the first thing to understand when you're going into your in-laws homestead. The other thing as a person is to know what are your limitations and what are your boundaries as a person. And I'm not talking about your partner. I'm talking
I
about
like the
you and
limitation
Ellie.
part. I love the limitation part because we've
Yes,
already identified you are an outsider. So where are your
yes.
limits, Nyokabi? Where do you stop?
Those are the things that I'm talking about. You can't come from where you have come from. Like for me, I've come from Loitoktok. Nimekuja hapa Limuru. I want to bring the things that we do there and force them where I have come. So, what are your limitations? What are your boundaries? Where do you stand? And once you know that aspect of yourself, then you can be able to express it to the other side of the family in a respectful and a loving manner. And then you can also take time to learn their way of life. Because the way we come into, because you think you've gotten married to a Kikuyu, to a fellow Kikuyu, then you expect that the way of life is the same. It's not. So you need to take a step back and begin to understand, how do these people relate? First of all, how do they resolve their conflicts? When they have a conflict, how do they resolve? And I'll give you a very practical example, Ellie, with my own experience in marriage. Where I come from, if you have an issue with somebody, you outrightly face them. You tell them, Nyokabi, hey, you have done this, I don't like it. And from there, we fight the battle to the end, to death. We fight it out, and it comes to an end. And once we have fought that battle, your story imeisha. Where I got married, they don't tell you. When you do something bad to upset them, they don't tell you. They just go around discussing it among themselves, and then fununu itakufikia, you did something to someone and it upset them. And by the time you're going to address it with them, it's gotten out of hand because of broken hand telephone. So for me, that was one of the very difficult things I had to deal with, because I was wondering, why don't you just come to me and tell me you have an issue, or I did something to you, or I said something that offended you, or I didn't give you a lift to go into a particular place, or you didn't want me to call you to give me a lift to go to just come and tell me, because where I have come from, that's how we handle things. But huku, they don't confront. They don't confrontation,
Probably,
they avoid. Yes,
probably you have a stone face, Nyokabi. I mean, coming from an area that people are constantly settling it out in the field,
yes.
they will say, ah, who you? Moto ya kuotea mbali.
Of course. And that's what I'm talking about, Ellie. You're taking your time to understand what is their way of life. How do they deal? How do they support? You see, like some of the challenges you have with your in-laws is, again, I'll give you an example with myself, because that's the best example I can give you. Where I come from, we are a very dysfunctional family. We only show up, and I realized that when I got married to my husband, we only show up when there's something. There's a wedding, somebody has died. That is the only time you'll find the whole family together at once. Where I got married, any weekend is family time for them. And I was so confused. Why are we going again to the village? What's happening? There's nothing. Somebody has just cooked and decided to invite everybody. So it was such a hard time for me. And I needed to actually get to a place early that I can participate in these activities. And it was so hard for me. The other thing is
Just for that, just that I can quench my knowledge. Was the
yes,
cooking really blood and meat, or was it something that was looking like meat, and then there's water, and then you find something in between?
I plead the fifth in that one.
Okay, cool. I
I
know you
plead
don't
the
want to
fifth.
stay.
Yes, yeah,
It's
probably
okay.
they're watching this show and they're waiting for me to say
Somebody is
something,
waiting for you to say something
and then
because you
they'll
told
not
them that
address
we're
me
discussing
about it.
in-laws.
So I'll not know. So now I'm giving you examples of how you get into and establishing those boundaries. The other thing I want to give you an example of is the visitations. There are families who love visiting one another all the time. They just show up. Umekaa tu kwa nyumba hivi, una watch TV or flipping channels, there's somebody at the door. It is your in-law. You know, even that for me was very foreign. As if you want to go and visit somebody, you call them prior and you tell them, hey, I'd like to come and visit you, and tell them, okay, come on Saturday, I'll be available.
Mhm.
But you don't just wake up in the morning, take a shower, and you show up at my door. So you are you seeing? That's a
But Nyokabi,
conflict.
those are some of the things that they end up creating conflicts, I suppose, because a lot of,
Yes, and those,
especially in today's family, where people
yes,
are working with a really thin budget, and they know from
yes,
Monday to Friday I have this sorted out, and then boom, there comes mother-in-law, and she's not coming for one night, it's not 2 nights, but it's 4 months.
yes.
Na
And now
mnaishi
what do you do?
self-confused.
What do you do, Ellie? These are the things we are talking. These are the things that causes conflicts within the in-laws. Even before we get to the major one, the elephant one that we talk about, childbearing, because most families have children. A very small percentage, maybe like 40% of families are the ones who struggle with having children. But conflict within in-law relationships are caused by very small things, and these are the boundaries we're talking about. Like now, for example, for me, setting those boundaries of don't just show up in my house, let me know you're coming, let me know so that I prepare myself, I set myself ready. Probably that day I just don't feel like cooking chapati, I don't feel like boiling jahes and mashing them for you because you have come to visit. So let me know prior. So setting those boundaries as you go into this family are very important for you, and these are things that take time. You don't just come and you start saying, somebody knocks your door and you open and you shut them in their face because you don't like guests who have not said. You host them for that time. But as you host them and as you have a conversation with them, as you interact with them, you mention to them and you tell them, hey, I really appreciate that you came to visit me. But next time, would you do me the courtesy of calling me before and letting me know that you are coming in a very polite and in a very calm way? So then you set healthy boundaries with your in-laws. The other thing is about decisions. Dealing with in-laws is about decisions, like decisions of building in inherited properties. Those are some of the challenges that are really causing conflict within in-law relationships. Somebody decides to build, or somebody has inherited a piece of property and they want to build in that property, and because it's a family property, of course it has always been a family. Kuna mtu mwenye analimanga huko, kuna mwenye anakatanga nyasi, kuna mwenye anafunga ng'ombe. So and now you want to come and establish and build your house. Sasa mko na hiyo rangoli ya trying to establish boundaries within the family. Call the family and notify them. Tell them, now I would like you to vacate the property because we want to do this. And this information, by the way, for your information, the information of setting boundaries does not come from the spouse, does not come from the partner. It comes from the primary relative. When I say the primary relative, I mean that when it comes to my side of the family, I'm the one who deals with the conflicts and the disputes. I'm at the forefront. It is my face they see. When it comes to the side of my husband, then he's the one who has to step in and be at the forefront of the dispute and the conflict. It cannot be me, the secondary relative, coming forward to say something, because it will always come across badly. Because like we said at the beginning, you are an outsider. And they are not so quick to adjust themselves to accommodate you the way your way of life is. So the person who is accustomed to their way of life, who is the primary relative, is the one who is supposed to come forward, because they have that background information and they say, I know here tunalimanga kwa shamba za wenyewe. I know here tunafunganga ng'ombe lakini kwa shamba yangu, because of 1 2 3 things, please musilime na musifunge ng'ombe. Tumeelewana? So you set those boundaries in place. So before you can even start setting boundaries of issues of having children, you set boundaries. Like now, for example, the issue of borrowing money early is a major thing with in-laws. Ati mtu amekaa hivyo kidogo, nilikuwa nataka kuanza kabiashara, si unitumie 5,000, anatumiwa. Anakaa miezi zingine 3, nilikuwa nataka kuanza kwani haka kabiashara akashikangi, it never grows, or every 8 months.
You know why I'm laughing, Nyokabi? It's because
Why?
everything you say is true in what happens in each and every home. And if it doesn't
Yes,
happen in your home, you must be living in Europe or America. I don't know. But where I come
it is
from,
so
this is so
universal.
normal.
Yes. So you make hivyo Ellie, somebody calls and says, you wonder, and I have a brother who always comes, oh, I want to start a kabiashara, give me 2,000. After 2 months, oh, I want to start a kabiashara. You get to a place, your partner begins to wonder, sasa haka kabiashara. In fact, you should have just put you as part of our expenses and part of our budget. So that every time, ukipiga tu simu hivi pesa,
Yeah.
because those boundaries have to be set in place. You have to agree with your partner and say, now, moving forward, wacha huyu aende achukue loan equity, aanze
Okay.
biashara. You and it has to be the primary relative who communicates this information to that particular relative. Now, I want to touch something earlier about in-laws. I think I'm very passionate about in-laws. Aki, I'm
I
stealing
hope
the
you
show
love
away.
them. I hope no. It's okay. It's okay by me. I just want to get everybody involved in the discussion. We are discussing about in-laws and how to deal with in-laws. So, in case you're joining the discussion, this is this is the Saturday family edition, and I'm here
Yes,
with Nyokabi Kamau, relationship coach, who is telling us the things that we seem to look as normal, but in fact they are very abnormal in normal
yes.
societies. So
Mm.
What is your experience? How have you been able to manage or deal with your in-laws? And if you're not married or planning to get married, what are your questions to the coach? Nyokabi, let's
Yes.
see what people are saying so that we can all move in the same direction. One here says, Kiproroda says, no money kwa in-laws. I have my own family to take care of. Okay, that's tough. I don't know how you're gonna manage that, but yes,
I
you
like
have your
it.
own family to take care of. There is
Yes.
this one
What
here
he's
that
saying,
says, "Yeah, go
Likuyani,
ahead."
what he's saying, Ellie, is
Yeah,
that his primary responsibility, Rhoda, her
yeah,
primary responsibility is the family. And that's the objective when you get married.
mhm.
Your primary responsibility is not your parents, is not your cousins. Whatever you give them is privilege and not a right. So I like the way that he's saying that no money for in-laws. I
I
have a
like the
family.
part
That's
about
very important.
privilege and not a right, because some people
Yes,
believe it's actually their right. Let's see what LJ
yes.
says. Wakikuyu tutasema ni ukari. I don't know what that means.
Neokare,
Neokare. I
neokare,
get you, bro,
yani
but
it's
huku
meanness.
Kenya, visiting is random. There is no what we call prior appointment that, oh, nitakuja siku fulani fulani. No, you are just seated, enjoying your so-called,
Soap opera.
yes, and then
Or you are
bam.
just about to make a baby and somebody
And
knocks the
yes,
door.
especially with these seasons that are approaching, especially during the
Yes,
lockdown, especially in your mom mmetengeneza watoto during lockdown periods. na
yes.
in-law na in-law akafungiwa kwako, how did you breathe? Or were you saying I can't breathe? I mean, not trying to make fun out of it though. Let's see what more people are saying here, because this is an interesting topic.
Yes,
Uh, we talked about the appointment. Somebody here is showing you some love. That is Kola Bay. They're so interesting names on Facebook. Sometimes when you read them, I can hardly pronounce them, but I hope I got
yes.
it right. Rin Mugambi inviting friends to the showcast. I have one here, long one. I hope I can be able to read through. That's from Joan Goli, who says, Nyokabi, the glass of water is so big. Okay. Nyokabi ni tumbler ama ni maji? At this rate, we have to start thinking about what you
It
drink.
is water. It is water. And I normally use a 1 liter cup of so that I can manage the water that I'm taking. So I
Okay.
count how much water I'm drinking by finishing the glass. Mwambie asikuwe na wasiwasi.
They call it, in her language, they call it munyika. So she's trying to tell you what kind of consumption you're having. She's watching from Kakamega, and in-laws should stick on their lane
On
and
their
stop
lane.
interfering with the marriage. There is no manual for marriage. So a couple
Yes,
should be given room to make mistakes, learn, and build their life. Thank you, Joanne, for that
I like
contribution.
that.
Thank you so much. In-laws scatters the family. Wow, wow, wow. Are you an in-law? Are you listening to this? What's your
Mm.
opinion?
Yes.
Carry on, Nyokabi.
There's a comment I had seen that I wanted to read here. Somebody was saying, if you don't make an appointment with me, I will
Uh,
never open the door. Sorry.
that's quite hard. Also, I think tonight Rhoda is not so kind after all. But it's okay.
Mhm.
It's okay. She's kind, but she's being tough. She's stating her position. If you do not make that call, don't come to my door knocking. Because
Yeah,
Mlango, Teja.
I can see Zuena here is saying that some in-laws are just
Mm,
from hell. What we are trying to do here, Ellie, tonight, I believe what we are trying to achieve is to
mm.
teach people how to build healthy relationships with their in-laws by
Exactly.
changing their perspective about who in-laws are and what role they play in their lives, and how much door space you will actually open for somebody to allow them into your life, because you're the person who is in control and who is at the forefront setting those boundaries in that relationship. Because the challenge comes in, I had an experience one time. Earlier, I was doing a coaching session,
Yeah.
and the person I was coaching, they were going through this very difficult time with the in-laws. And
Mhm.
because of the culture of the gentleman, he believes that it should be the wife who sets the boundaries with his side of the family. And I kept
Okay.
on asking him, who has the primary relationship with these people? And he told me, me. But then I asked him, well, then why do you keep insisting on the secondary relationship to come forward and set the boundaries? It is our culture, it is the way it is. Then I asked him, if you have disputes with people who you have grown up with when it comes to matters boundaries, then what do you expect of a secondary relationship when they try to set boundaries early?
Boundaries.
It becomes very challenging. But what I normally tell couples from the onset of it, from the time you get engaged, even before you actually get married and go into your marital home, from the time you get engaged and you start performing your traditional rites of marriage, that's when you start setting your boundaries with in-laws. And it starts with the issue of number of guests. How many number of guests are we agreeing upon? Ellie, if I tell you you're my father, you'll only bring 10 guests. If you bring 5, the extra 5 you will pay for their plate. I mean it. You will pay for their plate. Yes, because
Nyokabi.
if I lax on that one area and I lax
Nyokabi
on
will
the
make
other,
these ladies get unmarried very soon.
no. We'll teach them how to set those boundaries at the position where they are at with
Yeah.
their in-laws, right? Because like now for me, I've been in marriage almost 10 years early. It is a little bit, I can't handle setting of boundaries the same way that like somebody who is getting into the relationship now can handle the setting of boundaries. Because I've also developed a relationship with some of these people and I value those relationships. You understand? And also they have come to develop a relationship with me. So we understand, we communicate in our own way, tuna communicating. So this person who is getting married at the point of engagement, and that's why we said we discuss these things during the period of courtship, begin to set your boundaries then. When it comes to the colors of the wedding, what a kulax if you're trying to be nice that into dependent or accept, set the boundaries then. Let them know my favorite color is black. Hata kama ni ya mazishi, kwa harusi yangu nitafanya na black. Your story meisha. Or because you want a lineup of all the children that are in the village, you tell them no, give me 3 children. Agree among yourselves, just give me how many children? 3. Hao wengine wote wacha wakuja wakule mchele wacheze huko. So you set those boundaries as you move forward with your in-laws, and then you learn how to build a healthy relationship and cultivate a healthy relationship. There's this notion generally, Ellie, that people have that having a relationship does not require boundaries. And I get very puzzled by this idea that when we have a relationship, we shouldn't have boundaries. Even the relationship we have with God has boundaries. He says, if you don't abide by my laws, then you will not enter the
Kitaumana.
kingdom. Yes, you will not
Kitaumana.
enter the kingdom of heaven. If you don't forgive as I have forgiven you, then I will not forgive you. So every relationship, in order to have a healthy relationship, you must set boundaries. But how you go about setting boundaries with your in-laws is very important. The perspective you have in your mind about who in-laws are and which role they play in your lives is very important. And that's why I started by setting the foundation of, do you as a person get along with everybody in your own family where you come from? Do you get along with all your siblings? Do you get along with all your aunties and your uncles? No, you don't. It's unrealistic and it's not honest and it's not true and it's not authentic to actually say, yes, I get along with all my siblings. There's always that family wrangle that's always there. There's always that dispute, even of people who are born together. When you have that kind of a mentality, you're more open to experience different relationship with your in-laws. Number 2, when you know who you are and where you stand, when you're not threatened by your mother-in-law, then you will not become emotional when you're dealing with her. You become objective. You reason it out. You don't start criticizing your partner. Sijui wewe unasikizanga mama yako sana. Wewe mommy's boy. Sijui wewe mommy's daughter. Sijui wewe nini. You become more objective and you stop being emotional about issues, because you also know, even with your own biological parents, you have your differences of ideas, you have your challenges. I don't know where this notion of in-laws, they should be angels from heaven, came from. And by the way, Ellie, can I mention this? Do you know even in the Bible watu wenye wako kwa Biblia in-laws hawako wanasikizana?
I just learning from you because I'm not so theological savvy.
Yes.
But thank you. Theology, rather.
They don't get along because they, like I said, it's a relationship that has been forced. It's not a relationship that is volunteer. You have not volunteered to be in a relationship with this person. You have been forced into a relationship with this person. Like now, for example, when I got married into this family, they were forced to accept me. They were forced to love me with my ideology, with my dressing style, with my speaking style, with the way I carry myself. Sasa waliletewa kamutu hapo, pa, wakaambua huyu ni wangu, niko na yeye, kaeni na yeye. Jupangeni vile mtaishi.
I
And they
can't
have,
stop laughing because this is interesting. And anybody that is joining us tonight, we are discussing dealing with in-laws. So far, we have looked at the various. We've looked at the understanding of the word in-law in the first place. If you didn't watch it, remember to watch after this show and share the link, of course, so that we can have this knowledge getting out there. I want to go to the comment sections once again, Nyokabi. But before we do
yes,
that,
please.
let's see what do we have here. So in Nyokabi Kamau is a relationship coach, and she helps a lot of people discover things that they actually think they knew about relationships and they don't. So catch her every Saturday here on family edition from 7:30 p.m. that is Central European time, that is 9:30 p.m. in Nairobi, Kenya. And of course, we have Nyokabi on Wednesday, where we talk more about relationships, and in this case, both romantic, emotional, and of course, what matters to everybody, sex. See you on Wednesday with Nyokabi Kamau. So Nyokabi, let's go to the comment sections and find out what we have there. Let's start all the way down. We have Zaina Hussein, who says, the things I went through because of the child delay. The
Where
instance
the
from my
insult from my
brother-in-law made me
brother-in-law.
stronger. We will go to that. Actually, this is the point I want us to go into that after these comment sections. Let's
Yes.
say at your dressing style. Okay.
Woo-wee.
Nyokabi, have you been picked because of your dressing style? You know, you arrive, wamezoea kuvaa zile nguo za Pastor War, ni magunia wakitembea nazo. Then all of a sudden you're coming with a thing that is almost showing what your mother gave you.
Let me tell you, Ellie, don't skip that part of the dress code. The experience that
Yes.
I had with the dress code is me, I'm a person who is always in trousers. Because if I'm not training, I am doing security solutions. So if I'm doing security solutions, siwezi enda kupanda huko juu kuweka CCTV camera na nimevaa dress. Ati ninavuta cable kutoka kwa nyumba hadi huko na nimevaa dress. So most of
Utachapwa
the
na
time
kebo, wacha kuvuta kebo, itakuchapa ukiwa uko juu.
so most of the times you will find that I'm in trousers. It's more comfortable to train when you're in trousers because now you're not worried about where your dress is or anything. So some of the challenges that I used to have is not even dressing in an unprofessional way or in a manner that wasn't etiquette. I'm a personal believer of you dress the way you want to be addressed. But some of the challenges that I faced was the height of my shoes, the inches, the fact that I was always in trousers. You know, some of the challenges that you experience with in-laws, they now understand that you're no longer a girl. You know, they expect you to look like a woman who is married, right? And you're
Not
not.
just married with the 10
Yes.
kids.
Wewe kazi yako ni kuvaa sneakers, kazi yako ni kuvaa 6-inch heels. Wanashindwa sasa, wewe unapikianga bwana yako saa ngapi na hizo kucha? So
And
those are some of the challenges.
walking as if there are things, I don't know, whatever you call them, on your
Those
feet,
are some of
right?
the challenges we are facing as ladies. Let's go on, Ellie.
I have this one, and I'm sorry, but I have still to pick on this comment. I went through hell because I
Because I
was
was,
beaten like a baby.
yeah.
Because nobody wanted to believe that the child I had in my hands was from their son. Okay.
That already went, Maliza, that already
Okay.
went to the US to look for greener pastures.
Yes. Yani wewe as a girl child, you arrive and you are pregnant, and rather you had a baby and their son has gone to look for greener pastures. And then you arrive and say, here is your beloved grandson.
Yes.
Sema kofi, sema wekelewa, sema fukuzwa, sema kuchapwa, and all those kind of insults. Okay, this is something I want you to tackle when we go to the
And
baby bearing story. But let's hold it for there for the moment. Again, we have this one here. They say the best thing is to build a good rapport between the wife and the in-law. And again, when we mention in-laws, it's always the woman factor that comes into play. The men, it seems we are doing very well. Nyokabi, are we doing that good?
no,
The
you're
sons
not.
of
You're just
Adams are
passive.
behaving well.
No,
Or we're
men
taking
are
a
just
backseat.
passive. Ama umemiss hiyo comment yenye tumeambiwa hapo na Hezena yenye ameongea about brother-in-law
I will go to
kumuattack.
it.
Yes, even men are also misbehaving.
Sorry, let me just finish that one here. I would rather make them friends. Okay, it's always interesting to make your in-laws friends because there's this saying, I don't know how true it is, that the way to the daughter is through the mother. So, or the way to the son is through the mother. That means if you have a good rapport with the mother, then your chances become higher. But I don't know how true that is.
Can I tell you something, Ellie, because you have mentioned it?
Go ahead.
Actually, I don't recommend a healthy relationship with your mother-in-law.
Ah,
A rapport, I don't recommend that. Even your sister-in-laws or your brother-in-laws, I recommend that you build a unique relationship with them like you would build with a stranger. You're not looking to have a toxic relationship. What you're looking is to have an understanding. And then that rapport or that intimacy will develop with time. So that at the beginning, if you put the pressure on the wife that you have to get along with my mother so that you can be together, that already in itself is toxic.
becomes
That
toxic.
already
Yeah.
in itself, it's going to become strenuous in the relationship. So you cannot force me to get along with a stranger. What you can ask of me is to take some time and get to understand them and develop a relationship with them. And time allows that. It allows for you to come together to have an understanding. It takes time for the mother-in-law to know me also, and for me to know them. Then we start picking out what we like about each other, and we build from that moving forward without the pressure of the son at you must get along with my mother. Where we?
Let's take another one. This from Jakita. She says some in-laws lack the objective and reconsider that their son or girl might
Recognize
be
and
recognize rather that their girls or son might be misbehaving. I think instead of
yes,
counseling or openly disagree the behavior and protect son or daughter-in-law and the family,
yes,
they'll unfortunately protect their own blood. Ha
yes.
ha! That's a good one. Huh? You know, when you make a fault and something happens and then they want to take sides because now damu ni nzito kuliko maji.
Hii
What do you
makosa ni ya
say?
couple.
Hii
Hii makosa
makosa
ni
ni
ya
ya
couple.
couple.
Yeah, because why are you involving your in-laws in your domains? Settle your own disputes between the two of
So
you.
the thumb rule is always settle your own
Yes,
issues. Okay.
don't
Do not
involve your
involve the
in-laws
in-laws.
unless it is absolutely necessary. It's an issue that requires for them to come in. But easy to issue kidogo kidogo ati sijui ulienda wapi ulikuja saa ngapi. Some of those small issues, just settle them between the two of you. Don't involve your in-laws.
Okay.
Yes.
Na kama alicheswa,
Ebu soma hiyo
sorry for
Eli.
another day. Lilian Okendo says, I do remember my in-laws were so nice. Sorry if I'm looking down and not on the camera because I want to get this correctly. So excuse me, I just listen out. I do remember my in-laws were so nice while I was chipping some cash. Okay. Even before I
Then,
finish this, it's always about the money. And Nyokabi, I know time is not really our friend, but I hope you can be able to respond to this.
yes,
So
I was so
I
green.
was so green in the name of keeping in-laws and being a good
Yes.
respected one. Little did I know I was frying myself. Yani yeye alichukua mafuta, akachukua kitunguu, akachukua nyanya.
Akajipika,
Alafu
kajikaranga.
just before she thought she was done, akaekelea kawaru na carrot na cabbage. Ikakuwa nini? Mashakura. She was done. Welcome to the world. But I thank God one day something came to my mind. I told them I lost my job. Hey, gosh, I was abused. And immediately other women was okay. Another woman was brought in and the baby daddy agreed to have as a wife. Until today, it is so painful. I had to separate from that family until today. And we will talk about the politics of money and how they come to play because I
That
really
is
want
very
to be
painful.
able to go as much as possible through these comments. And I hope you can grasp them, Nyokabi. Um, Then we have this one from Noreen, who is interesting one here. Ati men have no problem. Let your husband die. God forbid. Whatever your brother-in-laws who want to take every single thing that their husband left you. I mean that your husband left you, including yourself, actually. But then again,
There are
who am I?
traditions that were
Who
part of the
am I?
inheritance.
Yeah. And as it appears, tell them some in-laws can be so evil. Okay, Nyokabi, you've heard all those comments. And because of time, I want you to take just a few seconds to respond to each one of them, even not as you can. Go ahead, please.
Oh, all right. I want to respond to the last one because that's the one I remember. I think you'll highlight for me the others as we
Yeah.
go on. The
Yeah.
issue about inheritance. Again, this comes back to boundaries and how you're relating with your partner. And there's a time that I mentioned you need 5 friends in your life, and one of those friends is a lawyer, so that who advises you on how on the decisions that you make according to the law of Kenya. With your partner, it's very important to co-own some of the assets that you have so that you can remove these issues of in-laws. And by the way, I used to be one of those people who are very ignorant about co-owning properties, because as women, we feel if my husband owns it, then I automatically own it, which is not the case. You don't automatically own it. You own it by having your name on that paper. And it makes it very difficult for your in-laws to challenge it. So don't be ignorant and don't be naive. Do the right thing at the right time. If you guys buy a property, ensure that both of you are written down in that name. And owning properties together, owning bank accounts together helps you guys to stay together. It forces you. The imagination ati tunawachana tukatanishane hii nyumba mara mbili, it just forces you to work things out. But if somebody knows that kila kitu kwa jina yangu, they can easily just throw you out and bring in another woman, then it makes life easy for them. So it is important that we use knowledge and we use understanding and wisdom to handle situations within the marriage institute. Please do not be ignorant. Do not assume that automatically because you're married to this person, you own these things. Now, on that note that I have mentioned, that when it comes to inherited properties, it is very important to be sensitive to the custom of that particular family that you have gotten married to when it comes to matters inherited properties or inherited assets. You must always keep that at the back of your mind. So if should something happen to my husband, what happens to this property that he inherited from his father? Do I have a son that is named after him that is going to inherit, or do I not? So these are conversations that you need to have again during your pre-wedding sessions. You need to have these conversations so that you can set the boundaries from the onset. If you buy a car, I've experienced couples who somebody comes, a brother-in-law, after the brother dies, a brother-in-law comes and drives off with the wife car. And they are actually able kunyang'anya huyo bibi hiyo gari kwa sababu jina iko kwa jina ya bwana yake. So he's able to struggle with the law and push, and by the time this woman is winning the case in court, hakuna gari, ilishamalizika, imeharibika, imetumiwa vibaya. So it's important to set those boundaries in place. And let me mention this, one of the tips that I give to couples when it comes to matters assets. There is no in-law of yours that should come to your house early and pick those headphones that you are wearing and live with them.
Nitachapa mtu.
Yes, when you set that boundaries from the onset with simple things, do not come to my house and pick items because you think ati laptop belongs to my brother, unachukua unaenda nayo. Ama hii kiatu belongs to my brother, unachukua unavaa. Or my sister comes here and we think that it's only women who experience this. Even men experience this. We have brothers of your wives who come to the house and pick the car keys and they drive out.
Kwanza kama ameingia gym, I have a friend who was here on the show. The guy is called a Shuchi. The guy has lifted enough metals. If he comes here, what will I do with my 1 GB? I will surrender.
No, you should not, and your wife should not allow ati brother zake wanakuja huko kwa nyumba, hata hawana heshima, hawezi heshimu mwanaume mwenye hiyo boma, anakuja anachukua funguo ya gari anatoka, ama anakuja anakaa hapo anakuta TV, anaanza kuflip channels na ni mgeni. These are some of the things that will help in-laws understand where you stand as a family. When you set simple boundaries, bigger boundaries become easier to respect. So when they know that they can't come, like now my family, they can't come to my house and pick a single thing, not even anything, ata earring, ama ata simu yangu, ama ata remote. You don't come to my house and you start flipping channel. You are a guest, right? Unless I handle the remote to you and ask you to flip a channel, you are a guest. Stay as a guest. Hata kama umekaa wiki moja, wewe ni mgeni. You're not a member of this family. We are hosting you. So you stay as a guest and you exit as a guest. So some of those boundaries will help you when it comes to matters, assets, and property when dealing with in-laws. Sawa sawa?
Nyokabi,
yes,
I know you want to discuss that, but there's something I must ask you. And we will talk about it. There is this issue you find, and I want to, I'm not taking sides, but I think it's common when a relationship is happening. More than often, the family of the lady, it's more invited to the home.
Yes.
I know you're a relationship coach, so probably you have set those standards that you're in your house. But for the rest of these many families, the truth is the family of the lady is more welcomed. Wewe ndugu yako akikuja kwa nyumba, all of a sudden your wife anasikia tu kutapika, they start swelling. You'll think they have eaten that thing that makes KDF go like that, and all of a sudden they are very irritable because your brother or mother is visiting.
Yes.
So when you ask, okay, now we want to make things that are a bit, comfortable for everyone, and you tell
Yes.
them, I would like for your sister or your brother to leave the house so that you can have a normal home, you will always
Yes.
meet resistance. What are some of the dangers that come with that? Especially if you are the woman, your husband tells you, I have tried enough to host your family, but now I think it's time we also had our own space. What
Mm.
are the dangers that come when you continuously refuse to take these steps?
Well, let me say this, Ellie. When you choose to be selfish as a human being, what you do is that you send negative signals to your partner. The first signal you send to your partner is that we are not in this together. It is you and your family. And that's a very big mistake you can make as a woman. Because if you give your family more priority over the family of your spouse, then expect him to also give the same priority to his family over your own family. So the objective here is to strike a balance. When it comes to a family member or a relative, let me call them relatives because they're not part of the family, they are relatives. When it comes to a relative, set equal boundaries, set equal objectives, agree. If my sister is coming to stay here, she will only stay here for 1 week, and there has to be a reason. Nyumba yake imechomeka ama imejaa maji ama sijui iko na bed bugs. There has to be an absolutely reason
Bed
why
bugs
we are.
now she will not come because then she brings the whole package with her.
Then she brings the bed bugs to the house. So there has to be a very solid reason as to why this family member is coming to visit. So there has to be a conversation prior to the family member coming to visit. And
Yeah.
once that conversation has been discussed, you're discussing the period and the length and the time that this person is going to be in this family. You're going to discuss the ground rules. What things do they have access to? Ni akuje huku akulange mayai na sausage kila siku asubuhi when the rest of us don't eat eggs and sausages every day. What are the ground rules? What access do they have? Do they come to our home whenever time they want? Akiona tu amekaa hivi anaona saa 8 ya usiku anakuja kugonga mlango na nyinyi wote mmelala. What are the ground rules? When you have this conversation before this family member comes home, then you as a couple, you have one voice and one head. You're speaking the same gospel. So when this person comes into your home, the first thing that you do not assume that they understand guest etiquette. Explain it to them. Tell them, hey, we are hosting you for 1 week. And the primary relative is the one who is addressing the person. The primary
Thank you
relative is
for
the person
repeating that
who
because I
is,
was going
yes,
to ask that question.
yes,
Who has to
it's
say
very
it?
important, Ellie. It's extremely important that the primary relative actually addresses and tells them we are hosting you for 1 week only. And if you need more time, you will let us know beforehand. And these are the rules. Here, you don't come home at 10 o'clock. Time yako, wewe ukishindwa na hizi sheria, if you can't abide by these laws, kindly go back to your mother's house or go find somewhere else to be. But so long as you are in this home, these are the rules and the regulations. When it comes to matters television, when it comes to matters access to the television, because those are some of the things that irritate the boy child. Sistangu amekuja hapa, hawezi wachilia remote. Yeah, ana watch vipindi zake zote, and probably the gentleman wants to watch a football game or he
Na
wants to
labda
catch
na
up
labda
with you.
uko na Netflix alafu yeye anataka watch
Yes,
series wa mpaka Z na wewe
mpaka Z.
hujaona.
Na yeye ako kwake na
No.
hawezi ona TV. So you
Na wewe ndio
set the ground
unalipia.
rules. Na wewe ndio unalipia, unamwambia my friend, and even your own children hawawezi watch cartoon because yeye ako hapa anataka ku watch whatever they want to watch. So when it comes to those matters, you have to set, and the ground rules have to be equal to both parties because both parties are involved in the family. And then again, once you have set those ground rules, you enforce them together. But the person who is at the forefront of this enforcement of those rules and ground rules is the primary relative. That is the person who is related to the person that you have invited into your home. So don't force your relatives into the family if you don't want relatives from the other side to be forced into you. I have a simple rule I normally say: do unto others what you want done unto you. So I can't be insisting that my brother can come and stay here for 3 weeks, and yet Kamau's brother cannot come here and stay for 3 weeks. If Kamau's brother cannot come and pick this laptop aende nayo, then my brother cannot also come and pick this laptop and go with it. So it helps the relationship remain healthy, and it helps the relationship work together. So as a couple, you have to sit down and have a conversation about how you deal with relatives and in-laws. And on that note, May I mention this because it goes hand in hand together. Matters helping family. I find it very important to have a budget. You say at your monthly budget tuko na 5,000 za kusaidia family. This 5,000, they go into the contribution of any wedding that's going to come up. They go into the contribution of any death that is going to happen. They go into the contribution of somebody who is going to be in trouble and they are going to need assistance. They go into any contribution that happens in terms of sickness and ailment. You agree. Na hiyo pesa ikiisha, before mwezi ishe, hakuna mtu anarudi kwa mfuko kutoa pesa ingine. Hiyo story inaishia hapo. Budget ya family, ya extended family imeisha. Case
So
closed.
I hope those people that constantly have urgent need for urgent problems with your money that is not so urgent to be spent. You've heard things will not be normal. Kamau has said, rather GK Kamau has said, we are not going to act normally because things are becoming abnormal. Nyokabi, time is really not on our side. I want you to mention something about childbearing. Whose responsibility is it? Because at the end of the day, you realize sometimes it could be the man that has a problem, but the relatives will come pestering and pestering. How can you discuss this, especially if there's an issue to do with fertility or infertility? How do you manage?
First of all say, first of all, you have no obligation to discuss challenges of fertility with any relative unless it's somebody you both trust and you wish to discuss with them. When it comes to matters fertility, Ellie, is a very sensitive topic. It's a topic that can really tear somebody down and break their heart very badly. So it is important that in-laws realize that nobody owes you an explanation. There are people who have infertility and they are going for, and it's important that the couples makes it clear to both sides of the family. We don't owe you an explanation. It is our choice to have children or not to have children, because you are not part of the conversation when we were getting married. So you don't know whether we had agreed to have children or not have children. You don't know how we had decided to deal with the situation. So it is important that both sides of the family, the primary relative sets that boundary and says, first of all, to start with, we don't owe you an explanation. Because the minute you start giving explanations to family, you open a door for them to come in and give their opinion and give their voices. And when you open that door for them, it becomes very difficult to shut that door when you really need the silence. It becomes very difficult to then again lock them out because they don't understand. I always say you don't know where the shoe presses until you wear it. A woman who has had it easy having children does not know the pain a woman who has not had children goes through. So you have no idea. And a man who has it easy having children has no idea what a man who has not had children goes through. And the stigma cuts through across. So when you're busy attacking the woman, even the man is going through the stigma. When you're busy telling the man ati wacha tulete bibi mwingine hapa ujaribu kupata mtoto, even him, he's going through the stigma. So the best way I find, Ellie, is to not give anybody any explanation. Whenever they ask you kwani hamtaki watoto, a simple answer is we are waiting on God. Or a simple answer is when its time comes, you know, we are having a good time. So just allow us to be us. And then again,
tunalimana mishale huku. We are enjoying.
Yes, we are enjoying our life. We got married to enjoy our life. And then let the primary relative be the one who addresses these questions. Because some of these aunties and some of these brothers-in-laws and some of these sister-in-laws can be very aggressive when it comes to matters children. They can even come pressing your stomach to check whether you're pregnant or not. It is none of their business. And I say that very assertively because they don't participate in the love making. So they don't know even whether you're making love or not. So how do they know whether you're having children or not?
Maybe you are just doing what we said people should have done since. Okay, this is for Wednesday show. Let's not bring it here. It's okay. We might be censored.
So the tip that we are giving, tip we are giving for childbearing is that do not open that door. Do not explain to your mother-in-law, do not explain to your father-in-law, do not explain to your brother-in-law, do not explain to anybody other than your gynecologist and the two of you and God.
And
deal
what
with it
if the
within
questions
yourself.
come, Nyokabi? Because they will come.
The questions come and they will come. but you have to have one voice and stand in one front. Because how much, Ellie, can you explain? How many people will you tell? At my fallopian tubes are blocked. At my hormones are not balanced. My sperm count is low. Do you want me to go telling my brothers and my sisters that my sperm count is low? Do you want me to go telling my brothers and my sisters that my fallopian tubes are blocked? Do you want those explanations to come
That's
out?
the time your mother-in-law
Because
will arrive with a whole sack of njugu and simsim, and you'll be forced to diarrhea because of that. Anyway, let's not give those explanations, because at the end of the day, it is a couple issue, and a couple issue, if well resolved, can actually make a
yes,
happy ending for each and everyone. Nyokabi, we have
yes.
exhausted our time. The message center is so much on fire.
Mm.
I will ask them if they will
Kuna
give.
watu hapa wana comment wanasema, Ellie, please always give us time, unatupimia kama BBI.
So let's read their comments and find out what they have to say. I will start all the way down from the latest message. Mbona nacheka
Yes.
peke yangu? I mean, we all laughing because it's interesting. Yes, Kipro says you have to see your gyneco because that's the most important person
Both
that
of
has
you.
both of you.
Yes.
By the
Both
way,
of
you
you, the man
and
and
in
the
this
woman.
case, your gyna and probably your urologist to help check if your clock is working well. So
Yes.
we have this one here, Sylvester, very interesting one, who says before or back in the days they shared this information in order to get help, and I understand, and
Yes.
that's why Nyokabi said unless you have somebody that the two of you can
Trust.
confide in and trust that they
Yes.
will help, other than pick
And it's
on
a
you.
private matter. It's a very private matter.
Yeah. We have again Lilian Okendo, who says both relatives, that is, both relatives, danger families, couples should watch out and set boundaries for their future life. Okay, great. Noreen, yes, nimeanza hii mambo yangu ya time because I want everybody to be here on time. And if you guys get late, then you miss out. But again, it is what it is. People are agreeing with one another. And I love the conversations that are happening here because this is interesting. Discuss family visits and stay before they come in our house to avoid misunderstanding and disputes. Create one there, and I think this is can be echoed across the board. We have and this one also agrees with me. For those who do not understand Kunguni, it's bed bugs. As I said, yes, she can have all the water flowing, but don't come with bed bugs. Don't come for exile because there are bed bugs in your house. Find yourself an Eldoret Express for that matter and go there. No pun intended, though. I grew up being a polite girl, but my father-in-law and brother-in-law made me sharp mouthed. Siku hizi naongea kama mashine, utadhani niliwekewa pilipili mdomoni. She was this very collected and nice, and she was,
Yes.
oh, yes, sir, yes, madam. But father-in-law, and brother-in-law, they made her who she is today. And anyway, thank you, Zena, for your contributions. This is from Caprino Sita, who says, my dear, widows suffer in the hands of those in-laws, especially if women don't understand their rights. Let widows know issues with letters of administration once they have lost their husbands. Okay? So,
yes,
wewe kama ni widow, and for everybody that has lost their husband, our condolences, of course. But always, as Nyokabi said, have some investments that you put together. On top of it, make sure that you actually are aware of your assets, including liabilities. Unaamka hivi ukirudi, you are told your husband owed 500 million and you're wondering, 500 million? Yes. Sini zile Gucci bag you are wearing, all those trips you are going to, who was financing them? Your brother-in-law, who has been looking at you. So now, because you cannot pay, they'll have to take you to pay. Anyway, just on a light note, though. So yes, and the contribution are huge here. Everybody that has made it to the show, good evening, and thank you so much. I mean, it's an interesting conversation that we cannot exhaust overnight. Nyokabi.
Yes.
What if, and this is probably one of my last questions, what if the woman or the man refuse completely to make room to actually get adopted into the new family? Amesema mimi maisha yangu ni maisha yangu. What do you do with such case?
You seek help. You have to seek help because there's this understanding, and that's why I keep mentioning about perspective you have about your in-laws. You need to understand that your partner values his family or she values her family, and they are a part of who they are, who he is, and they make him who that person is. So you can't just come into my life as one person and take away everything from me. You have to be able to come in and become part of this family unit that I have. So it's very important that this person understands why it's important for them to actually give chance to their in-laws. And maybe sometimes in-laws can really hurt you. Like now the testimonies we have had here of where in-laws have beaten somebody, where in-laws have become very violent, where in-laws have treated you with such brutality, it becomes very difficult to embrace them. But there is one person in that family that you can actually embrace. There's one person in that family that you can build a relationship with. And if your partner is adamant about not building a relationship with your family, please seek professional help. First, understand why they feel the way they do. Then try to negotiate with them why it is important to you that they get along with at least one of your family members, so that they give you an opportunity to keep that link and to keep that connection. If you are sure this kind of a person that you will set proper healthy boundaries with your family, they are more open to interacting with them. But if you refuse to set boundaries with this person, then this person will also refuse to relate with them. But if you agree, let's set healthy boundaries for both sides of the family, because you ask them, let them put you on your shoes. You also relate with your family. Please allow me to relate with my family as well. So if you agree to set healthy boundaries for this person, they are more inclined to become more understanding, to become more patient, to become more loving. And that person that is troublesome, please set boundaries with them. That person that is so toxic in that family, because you know they are toxic, you can't act ignorant, that you're blind, that you don't know this person is toxic. Ule mtu mwenye anakuanga na matusi na tabia zingine mbaya mbaya, you always know how that person is. So set boundaries with that person and let them know you can't cross this line. You're not allowed to cross this line, so that you protect both sides of the family. Protect your family and you protect your partner. But that person, if they insist, Ellie, please seek a professional who can guide you on how you can recover the relationship, you can amend the damages, you can reconcile the families. And a person who comes in between, Bob Kolimo, anaitangwa aje huyu mse wa nini wa ku amend situations, who can work the relationship together and recover it, because it's very important for those relationships to remain there. As much as we want boundaries, those relationships are important.
Thank you so much. Let's keep our relationships because they're important at the end of the day. I mean, we will never and we can never exhaust these topics to the latter. But I do hope you took one or two things home. And if you
Yes.
didn't, definitely you still need to hang out with us, because every single Saturday from 9:30 p.m. Kenyan time or East African time, we discuss in the family edition matters family and family relationships. So catch us again next week, same place, same time. The channel is always at the Arts in Heart official, that is on YouTube. And of course, this is Eli Likuyani on my personal profile. I'm very nice trying to invite all of you to my personal profile. How about that? And of course, you want to reach out to me. These are my handles. That is on Twitter. That is Eli_Likuyani. The Arts in Heart. That is the Arts underscore in Heart. That is on Instagram. Of course, that is YouTube. The Arts in Heart official. And of course, my official page is Likuyani Eli. Let's have a conversation as we go along. And I have this lovely lady here, always ready to share her knowledge. And if you don't want to pay for what she's giving, always catch her here. Otherwise, if you have to pay for it, I can tell you for sure, she is an expensive one. Her name is not just a name, but it's a brand. That is Nyokabi GK Kamau, a relationship coach. And of course, follow her on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Nyokabi GK Kamau. +254 780810987. Send her a message, but don't tell her that nataka nilikuwa nauliza. No. If you call that number, it's you paying. Ama namna gani Nyokabi? Any last thoughts before we finish this?
Are you discouraging people from calling me?
No, no, no. If they call you, they have to pay you. I'm just saying. But if they find you here, they can enjoy the free time.
Yes, and if they follow me on Facebook also, they'll also enjoy the conversations because I'm always having these conversations with people. But if you have a personal question or a personal challenge, please do not hesitate to write me a message and I'll definitely respond to you. Now, on my final tip on dealing with relationship with in-laws, always have the right perspective. Look at your in-laws the same way you look at your own family, your bloodline family. When you look at your in-laws that way, you're more open to conflict, family conflict, and family resolutions. You're more open to building healthy and meaningful relationship with your in-laws because they are people just like you, and just like your family, they have challenges, and it's good to be open and loving to them. And then again, you get what you give. So don't go out complaining my in-laws are crazy, my in-laws are bad. You get what you give. If you speak in English, I will respond to you in English. If you speak in Kiswahili, I will respond to you in Kiswahili. If you speak in Masai and I don't know what you're saying, you'll be speaking to yourself. So you get what you give to your in-laws. If you give them love and kindness and patience, they will give you the same thing. Give yourself an opportunity to learn them, to understand them, and also give them an opportunity to also learn you and accept you. And relationships are about boundaries. Don't fear to tell your mother-in-law, please, mom, don't call me at 10 o'clock in the night. At 10 o'clock, I'm cooking for my family, I'm sleeping, I'll call you during the day. If I don't pick your call, please understand, I will call you back. So that you set those healthy boundaries with them. Let them know that it's not every family function that I'll be coming there to cook for you. Some of those family functions, I also want to come as a guest and be served as well, so that you understand each other and you know where you stand. Instead of shutting the door, welcome them, give them a cup of tea, but give them a notice. Let them know next time, call me first so that I can be able to host you better. Express yourself in a loving and a respectful way, and people eventually, even the mad ones, learn how to respect that.
Definitely, you wouldn't have put it any better. So that's it for us tonight. And of course, for anybody that knows what we do every Saturday, this is the place to be. On Sunday, I have an interesting guest. Same time, of course, same channel. And guess who is coming to Ellie's Hangout? You will never have guessed it. And I know some of you, of course, know who is coming there. Yes, it is the awesome Noreen Ambata, the educator and counselor. What is her story behind that face? Join me tomorrow as I discuss this with Noreen. And it's been a pleasure hosting you for the rest of the weekend. Have a great one. Msisahau kusubscribe on Likuyani Eli, and that is on Nyokabi GK Kamau YouTube, of course. And on YouTube, find me with the Arts in Heart official. And for the rest of the things, all I can say, it's been amazing hosting you. Everybody that sent us their messages all the way from Kipro Road and Noreen Ambata, Lilian Okendo, Zena, Catherine, Sylvester Ucheng, Jekita Rena, Mugambi, um, and so many of you, Saddam Watela, Jay, Zena Hussein again. I mean, the list go on and on and on. And Anastasia Kamau, if I'm not wrong, I appreciate you guys. Let's do this again next week. Same place, same time. Ama namna gani Kamau? We are out
Of course.
and and it's a wrap.